I'm Laura Knights, CEO of Knights Consulting, creator of BlackWomanLeading.com, and the host of Black Woman Leading, the podcast. This podcast amplifies the needs and experiences of Black women leaders in the workplace with a holistic focus on three core areas: leadership development, mental wellness, and relationship management. Our ultimate aim is to help Black women learn, heal, and grow in their leadership capacity. Hey everyone, welcome to Season 6, Episode 15, our final episode of the season, where I provide some highlights and a bit of a recap for you. Now, if you haven't had a chance to listen along with us, this episode can serve as a cheat code for what you missed, so you can prioritize what you might want to go back and listen to, okay? So each season, we have a theme that guides the core questions that we ask all of our guests, no matter the topic. And our season 6 theme was community care is critical. And through the core questions, we were exploring how embracing community has fueled our personal and our professional growth. We define community care as the ways we intentionally support and uplift each other, how we create mirrors for each other, and it's really about creating and nurturing the spaces where we feel seen, supported, and empowered to grow. It's about showing up for each other in meaningful ways and offering our strengths and also receiving from others. And that's sometimes the hard part. So that was the core of this theme. And so community care is a critical part of our framework here at Black Woman Leading in all of our programs and all of our events. And we wanted to highlight that a little bit this season. So now diving into the themes of community care that came up in all of the episodes, here were some of my highlights from the season. So we kicked off episode 2 with our BWL alums, Shanika Stanley, Jada Ham, and Lakeisha Hicks, talking about leaning into community. And our lovely alums shared their experience in the program and how they built community in our program, how they experienced community care firsthand, as well as what they created in their life outside of the program. And I loved our conversation. It covered everything from defining our personal board of directors, understanding that connections are actually currency, and having the courage to really occupy the spaces that we're in. We even talked about boundaries because you're in community doesn't mean you don't set boundaries, okay? So I loved hearing their words and how they grew through the program, and they are doing the thing, y'all. Jada has gotten a promotion since then. Lakeisha is crushing it in her PhD program while being an entrepreneur, mom, wife, all of that. And Shanika just got elected as the president-elect of her local Society of Human Resources Management. So they're doing the thing. So excited for them. And so keeping with our theme of community care is critical. In episode 6, Healing Together, we talked with Kamisha Jones-Brandon and Dr. Marion Malcolm, and they shared about a beautiful program called Healing Together that they duplicated in Chicago. And it's a really powerful model of community care, but with specific regard to nurturing our mental health. So in this program model that they have trained community members to be mental health support. So not doing the deep stuff, right? But having conversation. They're trained to have supportive conversation. And it really is expanding the arms that we have to support people through their mental health, support people through mental health episodes they might be having. So they are doing this in the city of Chicago and got, supported by some other places that's doing this. And it was just really beautiful to see a very tactical model of how community care and having conversations is helping people in their mental health. I just really believe in what they're doing and would love to see it being duplicated across the country. And just in BWL, informally, we see the impact on people's mental health, on their growth, on their self-awareness, when they're able to have these type of conversations. So to know some real mental health experts are training people to be able to do this on a broader scale, beautiful. Dr. Malcolm said it beautifully in the episode. She says, as we heal each other and heal together, we're healing our community's big picture. So that was just such an inspirational episode of a real tangible way the community care was helping folks with their mental health. So, keeping on this theme, community care is critical. Episode 9, Giving as a Way of Life. Dr. Froswell Booker Drew. I just love me some Dr. Booker Drew. Her whole spirit was so warm. She talked about the power of the Black charitable dollar. And this concept of giving circles, which is, a group of people, community coming together and having a focused initiative that they are contributing their funds to. And I love it when she said, she's part of these initiatives that are creating structured giving circles now. But she said, Black folks have always been philanthropists, okay? We've always been doing giving circles. If you look at even our ancestors and how people made it through tough times, she said, we just didn't know what to call it then. So check out that episode because it's talking about how our charitable dollar can be a part of community care. And then episode 12, Navigating Life Changes with Kamari Williams. Kamari is a beautiful leader, an executive level leaders, and we really talked about the real. We talked about everyday life changes that we are enduring as leaders. I mean, we talked about everything from menopause, perimenopause, grief, losing loved ones, navigating being working moms and caretakers to parents and all of these life changes. But we still have to show up as leaders. We're learning, adjusting, and also modeling leadership for others. So Kamari shared some really vulnerable changes she's going through in her life and how she is utilizing her community, how she's leaning into her own self-awareness and sometimes being checked, self-checks about how she can show up differently and how she might need to pivot given these changes, some of which were unexpected. So I thought that was such a beautiful way to show that here's someone in executive level role. And she's like, I'm still learning. I'm still figuring out how to adjust my leadership in these different seasons of life. And one thing that I thought was really beautiful, Kamari shared how she was learning to really lean more into her husband. And it brought up a conversation of when you are that Black woman leading that other people are depending on, how do you allow and receive support that people in your community are offering? Do you have a hard time with that? Is that something that you're even aware of? There are resources for you there that you're not accessing. So she talked about how she was intentionally leaning more into that, knowing that, her partner is safe for her to do that and letting down some of that guard, right? Being more aware of not only just giving all the time, but also that don't block people's blessings when they want to love on you, when they want to support you and help you. And I thought that was just such a timely reminder that she gave us on this theme of community care. And then in episode 10, I did a solo episode that kind of shifted the community care aspect to the workplace. And I talked about building trust on your team at work and how building trust in the workplace is a way that we can infuse care into our work communities. And I mentioned in that episode, I can't stand when people are like, oh, we're like family here. No, you're not like family, but you might be like a community, right? Because your work is not your family, okay? You might like them, have good relationships, but you can think of it as a community, right? And so I talked about if you are a facilitator of trust building, what are some aspects? I talked about hardware and software components of that. I talked about how you can diagnose some of the root causes when there are some trust issues so you can determine how you might need to address those. And then we talked about as well what you can do to create more of it on your team, whether you're the leader who's facilitating it or a team member who is actively engaging to help build a environment of trust. So check out that episode if you missed it. Now, these were some of the insights I just mentioned that I pulled directly related to our topic on community care is critical. And while we talked a lot about leaning into community, creating community, facilitating that trust and care in our support systems, community building also is a lot about you. It starts with you. So we had a couple of self-awareness insights that emerged throughout the season too, and I want to share some of my highlights on those. So a few things really resonated with me personally about how am I showing up in community, right? And leaning into my own emotional intelligence, my own self-awareness. So one of the solo episodes I did, episode 7, on strengthening mindful self-talk. All of this talk we're talking about leaning, supporting, giving to community. But what happens when we don't treat ourselves as we treat those people in our community? We don't give ourselves that same nurture, that same kindness as we give our friends, our support systems, our mentees, all of that. So if you can get nasty and critical with yourself sometimes, you definitely need to check out the Strengthening Mindful Self-Talk. In that episode, I talked about how our internal dialogue plays a really powerful role in shaping not just how we kind of see ourselves, but also how we show up in community, in the world, in our workplaces. So, in that episode, I talked about how we can kind of have a moment of self awareness, really look at what does our inner dialogue and our self-talk look like. And I share some tips to help you practice some more self-compassion, to give to yourself what you're giving to other people in your community, but also some tips to help you rewire some of the root causes of that negative self-talk and to explore what's going on there. Where did that stuff come from? And how do I shift that if I see it's not helping me to be whole and well? So that was a huge self awareness moment. And early in the season, the brilliant Shayla Atkins, episode 3, I believe, she talked about authenticity and she called it the new leadership currency. Authenticity. And I thought this was just such a great self awareness point of the season to reflect on how and if we are able to show up as our authentic selves. And that's a common word we hear in the leadership space, right? Showing up authentically, showing up as your authentic self in the workplace. And Shayla really made me think about something, because a lot of times people portray authenticity as just kind of showing up and showing all your cards, allowing people to have access to all of you. And that's not the case, right? We know that we can be our authentic selves, but we might not choose to show all of that at work because people don't deserve all of that at work, right? And so Shayla provided some great context on this point. And she said, authenticity is not about how real you can be, but it's about how aligned you are. And I thought that was so powerful. How aligned you are with you. She asks, are you living, operating, and leading in alignment? You get to choose what you show people, but is what you're showing, whatever you're showing, is it alignment with you? Is it in alignment with your values? And I just thought that was so good. She also introduced us to her signature SPICE framework, which she talked about were some of the essential leadership skills. And SPICE is an acronym for savvy, performance, image, communication, and exposure. And again, she talks about these as some of the key skills for effective leadership. So that episode earlier in the season with the brilliant Shayla Atkins is a good one to check out if that authenticity question has always been like a question mark for you. And so, in keeping with this alignment and how we're showing up, we had some personal brand highlights this season too. And we talked with my girl Portia Obang, love me some Portia, and she talked about how do we level up on LinkedIn, thinking about what do I want to put forward, how do I want to be perceived. And in that episode, she talked about not only how can we kind of get some courage to come out of the shadows, right? And not just be a lurker on LinkedIn, but some practical tips for building real relationships. And I built some amazing relationships, personal and professional, on LinkedIn. I also made a lot of money from being visible on LinkedIn. So check out that episode 10 with Portia. One other personal brand insight that popped to mind was developing your leader story with Taia, which was episode 8. And Taia is an accomplished writer. I mean, she's written in so many popular publications, and she's a book coach. So she brought some of that expertise to us that may not be in that, may not be writers, may not be authors, but she shares some of her expertise and how we can harness the power of storytelling and building emotional resonance to build connections, to influence others, and to also elevate our personal brand in episode 8. And she talked about the value of integrating all of your experiences. You know, sometimes we think it's just, you think about social media and people say people just share the highlights, all the good stuff, right? But she talked about including your hashtag struggle story, okay? And life changing moments into your narrative, because those things have affected how you show up as well. And I misspoke. Portia's episode is episode 5, not episode 10. But both of those episodes really gave us some personal brand insights. It was on the self-awareness piece, but really tactical about LinkedIn, about the leader story, and how we use that knowledge, how we use that self-awareness to really increase our visibility, to support our growth, to build relationships, to build influence. So much good stuff just in those 2 episodes alone. So, wrapping up the self awareness highlights, I came back with a solo episode, episode 13, Creating Your Personal Leadership Vision, just a few weeks ago, and really wanted to give you some reflection prompts. I talked about in that episode that I'm not a big New Year's resolution person, but I love the idea of creating a vision for the year. So, I gave you a couple of reflection prompts to provide some guidance and inspiration so you can create you a vision for the year that you can tether your goals, your tactical action steps, and the things that you're working on. So it's always a great time to do that. Even if you're listening to this and it's not the beginning of the year, it's always a great time to reset your vision as a leader for this particular season of your life. And then finally, getting into just a couple of specific topics that really resonated with me. There were a few moments throughout the season that just touched me on some of the episodes that we talked about, some of the guests we had. They had some great insights, and I hope for you as well. So I think about episode 4, Dreaming on Purpose with Arian Hunter. We discussed her book called Dreaming on Purpose, and it's really just a beautiful body of work that reaffirms that it's revolutionary for us to dream. It's revolutionary for us to dream about what not only the work we want to do, our professional journey, how we want to use our talents and skills, but the experiences we want to be having in our life too. So in that book and in our discussion, Arian referenced the importance of self-discovery, kind of defining success on your own terms. And I loved her concept of centering care in your career. Like, that's just, who says that, right? Centering care in your career, care of you, care of your loved ones, and this fulfillment of dreams, even professionally, may require unlearning some rules, unlearning some things that were given to you, maybe from your family, maybe from society, that are not your own, and that you can always pause to redefine what that success means for you. So again, just a beautiful body of work, that book. We read it as one of our community club book club picks and Black Women Leading last year, and it was just so inspirational for us. So definitely check out that episode and get her book. Leah Davis, episode 11, a powerful episode. Leah kind of vulnerably shared about injustice that she has personally experienced in the workplace, and her story, how she kind of journeyed through more than one experience she shared, how she healed through that, and the role of her community. And leaning into community, leaning into self-care, how that played in her healing and how that impacted the leader she is today. and some of the work that she's doing today. So I think a lot of people, unfortunately, can probably resonate with that, experiencing some type of injustice or maybe even a workplace trauma. And Leah gives us some hope of how we can be okay after that. It requires some work, but that we can move through that, and that our community is a critical part of that. And then finally, on a self-care note, I got to shout out BB Arrington. I'm working with BB now, actually. And she did an episode on getting your gut health in check. And so, here at Black Woman Leading, we're about holistic wellness. And just in my own learning journey, and starting to work with BB personally, finding out that gut health is just connected to everything: your mental health, your focus, your everything. And so it is truly, she calls it the mother. The gut is the mother, right? And so she gave us a master class, and she talked about everything, explaining what your gut microbiome is, to practical steps we can take to get our gut health in check, even things around how we eat and when we eat and what we eat. Just really powerful awareness of things that I think we just don't get education on that every day unless we're really seeking that out. So powerful learning in that episode with BB. So we went all over the place this season, right? That undercurrent was really the power of community, though, in supporting our wellness, our professional growth, how we see ourselves as leaders. I really enjoyed this season. I want to give a special thank you to all of our guests. They were just dynamic, not only bringing their expertise, their wisdom, but their stories that we can resonate with and learn from. Really appreciate those ladies. Follow them, you all. Support their work, support their efforts, what they're doing. All of their contact information, websites, and all of that is in the show notes of their individual episodes. But really, they are truly are inspirational Black women leading, and so grateful for them. And thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening and going on this learning journey with us this season. I hope this season has been meaningful for you, and edifying, that you got some insights as well. If you did get some insights, I love to hear. Send me a message on social media wherever we're connected. Email me. I love to hear what takeaways you left the season with as well. So just to wrap up season 6, community care is critical, y'all. I will remind you. I'll say it one more time. Community care is critical. We are all we got, okay? And so I encourage you to take some time for intentional investment into the people that's supporting you, into the networks that you have. Pour into them, right? Pour into them and make yourself open to receive from them as well. Okay, community care is critical. So that's a wrap for season 6. We will be back in March for season 7. So if you enjoyed this, if you got something out of this season, please share what we're doing with your networks, with your friends, with your colleagues, and help us to amplify this work. We are available on all social media platforms at Black Woman Leading. And you can connect with me personally at Laura E. Knights. I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on Instagram. You want to learn about what we have going on in Black Woman Leading, events, programs, check out our website at www.blackwomanleading.com. And you can also learn about our corporate work that we do in organizations to help them build more conscious, competent, and confident leaders at knightsconsultinggroup.com. We love to connect with you in any of these ways. And until next time, be well.